What is up, you guys? It's Kogi here again. I know you guys have been wondering what the hell happened to me since the last time I posted a freaking video. And if you guys are curious as to what exactly happened, in short, at the beginning of this year, busy season at my job happened and one person left. So I got bombarded with work, and essentially, if you thought I had no life now, I had no life at all before. Basically, it was just work and sleep. Like at 2 in the morning. It was pretty bad. Needless to say, though, doesn't mean that I still wasn't streaming. I still was streaming on the weekends. And ironically, I made my best builds ever during that time span, which I didn't post. We'll get into that. On the other topic, I became a fat ass during the COVID season and all that, sitting down basically 15 hours a day. Then I decided to go back to the gym finally a month and a half ago, and I've been seeing decent progress. But other than that, the reason why I'm making this video today is because I have technically 3 magnum opuses. Opuses, is that the word I'm using for? Well, opuses of builds that were absolutely disgusting that I made, and right now they're my favorite builds. But you know, 3.15 happened and everything got obliterated in nerfs, especially Archmage. Doesn't mean it's dead though, how do you know? So there's 3 builds that I kind of want to go over today. We're gonna cover one of them, and that build is the Old Man Bomber. Needless to say, the build was absolutely disgusting. We're talking about 9,000 energy shield, easily over 8,000 mana. You can even hit 9,000 if you just invested a bit to mana, and mana is damage and life anyway, because your Ivory Tower saw a lot of the chaos damage, or basically all your chaos damage goes directly to your mana pool. And we had so much mana regen from our such a large pool of mana and arcane surge that we didn't need a mana pod. Literally, we did not need a mana pod. I know we haven't even mentioned the skill yet, but you can kind of guess from the name Bomber, you kind of get what type of skill it is. But point taken, it did not need a mana pot. It was freaking ridiculous. But of course, things have changed. GGG, aka the Fire Nation, attacked, and Archmage now has a lower mana cost. And since the damage is based off the mana cost, it used to be like 110 or 105% of your mana cost is base lightning damage. Now it's only 75%. It got changed. It used to be 60 like at the beginning of the league. Now it's 75, thank the Lord. I'm assuming they did this because they lowered the mana reservation or the mana cost of certain skill gems back down, because mana cost obviously was way too freaking high. I concur. It was really freaking bad. Point taken. Higher mana cost is more damage for Archmage. So by reducing mana cost is technically and indirectly nerf to Archmage, so they buffed up the the percentage damage base up again to kind of even it out, and it's found the same portion as it was before. So nothing really big there. Point taken, we do lose a lot of damage, but is it enough to go from what was this to hopefully something that still freaking works? And I used to hit my elbow. Either way, a lot of things to go over. The skill that we're using is called FROSTBOMB. Reason why? FROSTBOMB has a 300% multiplier of added damage. Basically meaning if you had any sort of flat light, well, not flat lightning, any sort of flat damage at all, basically added cold, added lightning, cold damage to spells, things like in your one, it says added lightning damage spells, all that gets multiplied times 3, basically, when it gets added to your spell. This is insane for Archmage because Archmage adds flat damage based off the mana cost of the skill, and of course a portion of your mana. So it becomes insanely broken. However, FROSTBOMB has an issue. FROSTBOMB is a very small circle. 1, we'll cover that. 2, it has a duration modifier, so it doesn't do damage instantaneously. It does this little, wavy effect, and then it blows up, and that's when it does the damage. And 3, it has a cooldown. So how can we get around all of these consequences? Let's go over it. First of all, there's an alternate quality for FROSTBOMB called Phantasmal FROSTBOMB. This is really good because the quality for this, not only does it lower the it has less skill effect duration, so it lowers its duration and making it pop sooner. It also has increased cooldown recovery, so you can use it more often. Basically, it's a no-brainer. If you're going to use FROSTBOMB as your main damage skill, you need Phantasmal FROSTBOMB. 2, we link less duration to it. It is still a damage modifier, and ironically, it did not get touched at all in terms of damage, which is kind of good because it means the build barely got touched. For Archmage, rest in peace, but so good. Either way, less duration does 19% more damage. It adds a crap ton of less duration on it, and of course you want to add quality to this, to the original quality, because it does increase that skill effect duration reduction, meaning it pops even sooner. On top of that, you can now, not now, but you can add second winds as the same mana multiplier, so it's kind of like a decent damage gem now. And it adds a second charge, so you can use FROSTBOMB twice without having to wait for the cooldown. Now, it used to be better because, second one used to give you cooldown recovery. But now, if you get a 20/20 6%. Basically, second one, it's just a +1 with no reduction or increases the cooldown recovery speed. Whatever, take it. A +1 is better than nothing. Okay, leave it at that. Now, on top of that, if you link Spell Echo with FROSTBOMB, you get an additional cast. And this kind of bypasses the cooldown of FROSTBOMB. An example, if you have, let's say with second wind, 2 charges of FROSTBOMB, and you cast, let's say, once, because of Spell Echo, you actually get 2 FROSTBOMBs instead of 1 per that 1 charge of cooldown. This gets really good. Essentially, it doubles your DPS and cast speed, and in terms of cooldown, obviously, and also increases the speed of which you cast it, which can be annoying because once you have a lot of additional cast, you can be locked in animation. And this is where it gets even crazier. There's also Spell Cascade. It works with certain AOE skills. Not sure. There's a bunch of list of ones. I'm not sure what the criteria is, but it's basically for range spells that you can use that are also AOE on the floor. Things like that. You can look into the PoE wiki if you're kind of curious to what skills work with Spell Cascade. But either way, what's up happening with Spell Cascade, it gives you 2 additional FROSTBOMBs in a row. So it looks like a line. So basically, if you have Spell Echo and Spell Cascade, in one charge, you get 2 casts of FROSTBOMB. But since Spell Cascade gives you 2 extra FROSTBOMBs, you actually get 6 FROSTBOMBs for the price of 1 cast, which is freaking amazing. And in terms of mana cost, is also really good since mana cost is a lot higher now, especially for Archmage. And mana regen is abysmal because of the nerf to Arcane Surge. So it matters a lot now. But it gets even crazier. And how does it get crazier, you may ask? Well, when you link all of this on the Pledge of Hands, that already gives you over 100% spell damage and over 50% increased maximum mana. It also gives you a 7 link called Greater Spell Echo. Not only does a 7 link give you extra mana cost, which means extra damage for your Archmage, it also states that it gives you 2 extra repeats, just like Spell Echo, but it's this time you cast 2 additional times per cast. So now per second wind charge, you get to cast 4 sets of FROSTBOMBs, not including Spell Cascade. It also gives you 35% more damage per repeat, which basically is 35, 70, 105% more damage on a 4th repeat, and 50% increased area of effect per repeat as well. Basically, the 4th one being the biggest one will have 150% increased area of effect. And it gets even crazier. If you didn't know, Spell Cascade is a row, but it's another gem, also called Spell Cascade, called Awakened Spell Cascade. And it's a row on both ends, making basically a freaking plus sign, which basically means you have a crap ton of AOE on a plus sign. It gets pretty crazy because we're not done with AOE yet. Hyophron has an insane node, which a lot of people easily overlook, and it's actually completely overpowered. And honestly, you should probably take it now because mana cost is higher than it's ever been. And it's called the Sanctuary of Thought. And let me read. It gives you 20% of your maximum mana as extra energy shield. So if you're building like an every tower build, and you go low life to get, 30% more damage from Pain Attunement, and it kind of blocks all your chaos damage because it's going through your mana. And when you have 8,000 mana and it's only blocking chaos damage, you're pretty much golden, right? Not only that, it gives you less mana cost of skills, which is bad for damage, but in terms of our mana cost, it's so freaking abysmally high. It's like 2,000 mana cost. You kind of want this. You need this actually because it's so unusable otherwise. And on top of that, it gives you 10% less mana reservation of skills. Now, this used to be a lot better. In 3.14, it was nerfed. It used to be less reservation of all skills, which allowed you to fit Discipline and Wrath on top of basically Clarity. It's basically you get Wrath, Discipline, and Clarity. And that was really good because Wrath has a Watcher's Eye. And the Watcher's Eye is absolutely ridiculous because if you have a level 1 Clarity, you can get the mod on the Watcher's Eye that gives you, I believe, like 8%. Let me get it right here. It gives you up to 10% of maximum mana as extra energy shield. This basically gives you another 1,500 ES. And then if you get that with a Wrath one, a Wrath mod, it gives you either, crit or penetration or lightning damage. It's good money, good damage. But it's obviously it's pretty expensive. You don't have to get it. But needless to say, because they reduced this mod from 10% less mana reservation down to 10% less reservation now to mana reservation, it doesn't affect life restoration anymore, basically. So you can't fit Wrath, but you can fit Spooter. So now we fit a Discipline, a Spooter, and Clarity. And the damage is less, but not significantly less. And we do get more defense. So I think it's decent, Switch. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I actually don't mind it at all if it's perfectly fine. And it actually makes it a bit cheaper because you don't need a light in level 4. And you don't need a Corrupted Jewel with -1 reservation. So, hey, it's cheaper now. Pretty good. But what makes it so freaking good, because, I'm stalling right now. It says 1% increased area of effect for 50 unreserved maximum mana up to 100%. If you guys know one of my favorite builds is Blade Vortex. Same notion, low life Archmage. It's not dead, but it's kind of, still very fun to clear. but PV and the Archmage nerf, it's not really worth it anymore, but this build still is, right? And what makes this so stupid is on top of the AOE scaling, on top of the AOE of the Pudge of Hands, and you include the 100% increased AOE from High Offering, we have easily, all you need is 5,000 mana. We have clearly 8,000 mana, or 7,500 with the new Pudge of Hands. Again, nerf from 100% max mana to 50. You literally have freaking frost bombs that are the size of your fucking screen. It's ridiculous. And not only that, it's not a Nova skill. Nova skills can only be casted at your position, so you kind of have to go to melee range to do shit. Frost Bomb is a range skill. I can literally cast a tactical nuke in range from afar. It's stupid. So basically, your main defense is stupidly high ES, stupidly high mana, and mana regen, basically, and the fact that you're ranged. Because if someone's about to come next to you, you can literally just nuke him away, and I don't give a fuck where he is on the screen. If you hit the middle, everything's dead. It's ridiculous. It's also amazing for Maven fights because you have so much goddamn AoE. I'm talking about feared, the 10 bosses, all the feared bosses, basically, all the Maven bullcrap fights. All bosses get hit. I don't care where you're on the screen, you are gonna get hit. Now, if you want to maximize your damage, though, you want to make sure the boss is right in the middle of the frost bomb, because that is where the max amount of damage is. Because once the AoE starts ramping up with the greater spell echo and the different repeats are bigger and bigger and bigger, all 5 frost bombs will hit. So the way to calculate the damage on this is not your DPS on PoE, because it looks like shit. It's like 1 million or 2 million, which sounds decent these days, but that's not what it is. It's the average hit times the number of frost bomb, which is 5, times the amount of cast, which is God knows what, times your cooldown, the +2 cooldown from second wind. It's a lot of freaking damage, guys. And if you think it's nasty now, it was stupid before. And everybody that played Frostbomb was always agnostic or some stupid shit. Yeah, they had like an average damage. I think I remember it was like 300k, 400k. I saw some with 600k, but they were using the Righteous Fire and a bunch of other bullcrap for PoB Warrior. I was hitting 1 million average hit with decent gear, no Awakened gems other than Awakened Spell Echo. Awakened Spell Cascade, excuse me. It's busted. And now it's still hitting around 500 to 600k. And I'll tell you how when we go over the gear. Let's go to it. Now, before we get into the build showcase, I want to detail you something very quickly. Since Mana Regen has been significantly nerfed due to the Arcane Surge nerf, right? We used to have such insane, absurd amounts of Mana Regen that we ignored completely all chaos damage. And the reason behind is because Ivory Tower blocks chaos damage by making it go through mana before it hits your energy shield / life, right? And that's pretty much the gist of it. We have so much Mana Regen that no matter how much damage you take, we just regenerate it back up. And since, Frostbomb had a cooldown, we couldn't really spam it to the point that we ran out of mana. So a mana pot wasn't even necessary. It was beautiful. We were also stun immune and elemental immune. We're basically still elemental immune for the most part. And stun immune, we're obviously still stun immune because Skyforce. But as for the chaos damage, all boss fights were pretty much cake, including the Maven, Uber Elder, Shaper, Elder, even the Maven fights. The only fight where I really like, if you really want to farm this fight, please prioritize Chaos Res wherever you can fit into the gear. It is pretty tight, but if you can fit it, you're gonna love yourself for doing it. You don't have to max it out, just get like at least 0% or something like that. Get Chaos Resistance for the feared fight, because Cholula did make it significantly more rougher than it was before, basically because we were running out of mana, since Mana Regen is not as crazy as it is now, and the mana pot, same thing, that you are more reliant on not running out of mana. That if they catch you in a spot where you have little mana, chaos damage is going to bypass that and go directly to your life pool, because it ignores energy shield if you're not wearing the shafts, right? So that's kind of the little catch there, but it's only for the feared, which is like, wow, with a 1.01% of the content. But I just wanted to disclose that information for you so you are aware for the future. We'll go over that in the detailed build guide as well. But let's get right into the boss fights and everything, so you can see the absolute sheer madness of this build and how crazy it was even before. So if you see it now and you think it's crazy, holy shit, you have no idea what the good days were. Yeah. Let's get right into it. Now, before we move on to the detailed version of the build guide, if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen so far, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as it helps me out immensely with the YouTube algorithm. Now, on top of that, we now have an editor for the channel. Well, this is going to be his first video, so if you see this video posted on my channel, then you know it came out pretty damn good. Otherwise, I'm very excited for the future because I have very limited time now that I'm back in the gym, and I'm very happy in the way that I'm, performing now in terms of activity, and I don't want to give it up for YouTube and things like that. So the best way to get the best of both worlds was for me to get a YouTube editor. That way I can still come out content as consistent as possible and still have time for, life, gym, and work. Mostly work though. And with that, guys, I'm very excited for the future. I'm still loving PoE, and I'm very excited for the future. I'm not a fan too much of 3.15, but I'm not hating it. I still love all the new skills. So please look out for the content. I'm still making new builds, and I hope you guys enjoy them. But with that, guys, I do stream on Twitch still every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The link is down below if you guys want to check me out there and leave a follow. And yeah, I'm still making some cool things right now. I'm playing with a slammer. I did play with Stormrain, so look out for that. Stormrain was pretty good. It wasn't as bad as people think it is. I don't know why people say it's bad, but I think it's actually pretty good. And other than that, if you guys have any questions, as per usual, I'll be active again on the YouTube channel. Leave it on the comments down below, or go ahead and join my Discord in the link down below as well. And yeah, join the community. Still as active as ever. You guys need the help. Best place, honestly, for me to answer you. And with that, let's move on to the detailed version of the build guide. Now, guys, welcome back to the detailed version of the build guide. My character is called the Old Man Bomber for obvious reasons. He's using FROSTBOMB, and of course, he's an old man. And honestly, the Old Man has become one of my favorite, ascendancies in general. And in essence, this build is an absolute monster. 9,000 energy shield, 8,000 mana. Keep in mind that I can't get like a 6-link non-nerfed Pledge of Hand, and I don't want to ruin this one because it's legacy. But your mana will go down to around 7,800 around there. Not too big of a deal. Damage basically doesn't even decrease that much. But just so you guys know, it's just because the increased mana goes down to 50% increased mana. Otherwise, everything has been changed, right? We have the new Diamond Flask and new Bottle Faith, and I'm going to go over that in detail as to how kind of use those very, very well. Now, you don't have to use a Wise Oak, not the Wise Oak, the Bottle Faith, but it is very, very useful in the future because I know you guys are looking at that it's pretty expensive. It's not needed at all, but I highly recommend it, obviously, because it's honestly the best class these days. Now, in total, the character uses basically Pledge of Hands to get insane amounts of mana cost in terms of a 7-link. It allows you to use basically FROSTBOMB. You have 2 cooldowns with Second Wind, but because you have Pledge of Hands linked with Spell Echo for Greater Spell Echo and Spell Echo, 1 cast fires 4 FROSTBOMBs. And because we're using the Awakened Spell Cascade, it's 5 FROSTBOMBs, so 4 times 5, that's 20 FROSTBOMBs that you just went off of 1 cast. If you do another one, that's basically 40 FROSTBOMBs. And if you get a boss right here in the center where I'm standing, you basically hit them with all 20 as they ramp up. There's a good chance that probably the first one doesn't hit, but for sure the second, third, and fourth most likely will hit. And the cool thing about this one is also range. I can cast it wherever I want. It's not necessarily a Nova skill. This is really good for clear. And the majority, you can see in the map showcase, the majority of the defense comes from just range, an insane amount of leech through Ghost Reaver, and we have this leech node right here. 0.5% of spell damage leeches life, and that's all you're really needing because we have so much, energy shield is based off the maximum leech rate is based off your energy shield, not really this percentage right here. Right? So that's good and all. And as for defenses, we are stun immune through Skyforth, right? We do have Ivory Tower to block 8,000 mana. Here's you can showcase. You can see our mana region. It's not bad. It's not as crazy as it was before, but it's not bad. As you can see here, if you don't, control it, it does go down if you lose track of it. But it's not that bad. It was way worse before before they buffed up the mana things again. Oh, we did not have a mana pot, and now we do. And the only thing I really dropped for it was a Cinder Swallow or some other crap there I had there, probably a Wise Oak. I forget. It doesn't even matter because it really didn't. I think it was a Lion's Roar, maybe. I don't even remember. But it's probably not even worth it because at the end of the day, I think it was a damage flask, and they're so nerfed heavily that it really doesn't add that much damage. So instead, we just use a mana pot. That way, we don't risk dying to chaos damage when our mana just goes down that low. Right? Now, in essence, basically what's happening here is we're using Sanctuary of Thought to get that insane amount of area effect per 50 unreserved mana. So if you have 5,000 unreserved mana, you have a crap ton of AOE. And combine that with another, where is this? 30% AOE, we're pretty good there. And it just gets absolutely blown proportions due to Greater Spell Echo. Greater Spell Echo gives you basically, I believe, I don't know the exact numbers, but I believe it's 30% more damage per repeat and some stupid amount of AOE, around 40 or 50%. You can check the PoE wiki I posted here. And it's really good for this because this heavy link does mean higher mana cost. Now, going back to the ailment thing, we have 50% reduced effect of ailments while I have Arcane Surge, which is up 100% of the time because this little 5 link here, I have Second Wind with Arcane Cloak, Increased Duration, Arcane Surge. What's up happening is that my Arcane Cloak is up for like 2-3 seconds less than my Arcane Surge. You can see here that if I keep walking, it's on my walk because it's instant. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, off for 1 second, and it comes back. So basically for, what is this, 10 out of 11 seconds, you're basically having with Arcane Surge. And on top of that, if I hit enemies with this one, I have Arcane Surge, which is, as long as you're fighting, you're always going to have it up. And you have 50% reduced effective ailments. This is really good because you cannot get frozen. Now, this does not mean that you're frozen immune. What's up happening is you basically have, it's like a super effective chill. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why the logic behind this. Because you have reduced effect of ailments, frozen will not freeze you completely. You can still move, but it feels like a really heavy chill. And the way to get around this is basically solar branking. Solar branking becomes absolutely insane, especially if you don't have Skyforce because you're saving up for it in a budget version or something like that. It's not even that expensive these days. And what it says, you cannot be frozen if you've been frozen recently. So if you just happen to get frozen, right, and you're not really frozen, you can still move, so you can still flame dash and things like that. So you'd be okay, but you're kind of annoyed by the fact that you've been slowed. This will kind of counteract that, and you can't happen again. And this only really happens with, you know, maps that have a lot of added extra damage as cold, or they have crit. Because if they have crit and cold, they're gonna crit you and now guarantee a freeze. Basically what happens. But as for chill, because we have 50% reduced effect there, and another 50% reduced effect there in the solar branking, the Patheon becomes very important. And now we're 100% reduced effective chill, so you cannot be chilled. So the only way that you really be slowed in terms of like cold elements is just freeze. And the capture of what do you call it? This guy that cannot be frozen is helpful for that. And I do even still use an immunity to chill because I don't really care for 8% movement speed. If they buff it, then I'll just deal with only the Patheon, maybe next league. But until then, I don't care for the 8% movement speed. I'm just gonna stick to this because I have, you know, flame dash and it's pretty freaking fast.
I must have time
right?
to gather my will.
And I'm happy with that. I have no problems with that. Simple as that. And that's basically our defenses of our insane amount of region and everything like that. So let's go, before we get into like the itty bitty of the gear, let's go over the skill tree real quick. Now, this is the PoB, as you can see here, is around 640k. Now, I do have a lot of decent gear because it was made kind of like Harvest, and this was my favorite character. But there's a lot of gear pieces that don't matter. We'll go over that when we go over the gear. But as you can see here, we have different end game trees in the bottom left. So let's start with early game. Early game, you really just want to get life. There's an update. We'll get that later. You just want to get life because you don't have any energy shield gear to speak of in general. So you want to prioritize its life, and life nodes that are hybrid like life and ES is very important because these nodes you're actually going to keep when you go to end game, because when you make the swap, these nodes are still very efficient. Right, so early on, I highly recommend you pick all this. Pick the life nodes, pull the damage, come here, pick up Annihilation for the spell crit. I highly recommend if anything, use Axioms, which are basically two maces. Dual with them, they give you a lot of crit and cast speed. Very, very good. You know, get crit preparation. You can start picking up mana from mana regen. Arcane Will is great because it gives you flat mana regen per second, which is great early on. And around level 30, you can pick up his life and spell crit here as well. But around level 30, which is Act 3, where you start using, you know, Arcane, Archmage, right? It's Act 3. I think you have to do the library quest for it. That is when you want to socket it, and then that's where mana becomes an issue. So then you want to start scaling mana. So get all this mana here in Forethought, and you get Dynamo, because I do believe you get Arcane Cloak before Act 3, or around the same area. So it's really, really good that you start using Arcane Cloak with Dynamo. So start scaling down here with all these little mana nodes. Basically just this one and this one. Once you have, you know, Archmage at Act 3. And you can use any skill you want, really, that is pretty much lightning. You can even use a cold skill, honestly, that has good additive effective multiplier, but I highly recommend just using Arc because it's just really good. You can, now I don't recommend Forbidden Rite because it sacrifices your life, but basically just use Arc. You'll be fine with it. Just use it with Unleash so it doesn't kill your mana, and make sure to use a mana pot, right? Helps and goes a very, very long way. That's pretty much the gist of early lack levels and early 4. You know, level 76 is basically, you passed, at level 40, you're basically passing Act 4, going to Act 5. You should have all your gems by this point. You can look at all the gems here. We'll go over it real quick. And at this point, you're just using the game skill gems until you hit tier 1 maps. And this is around level 70, level 75, level 68 to level 75, right? I put level 76 to make things simple. At this point, if you don't have the gear, stick to the life nodes and don't get the ES nodes. We're talking about the Ivory Tower and things like that. But all the gear is actually very, very cheap. So the only thing that you should be getting probably is your Juba Circlet and your gloves is pretty much it, and maybe your belt. But as long as you have a little bit of ES there, you have some ES on your boots, you're using Skyforce, you have a little bit of ES on your rings, you're good to go, because a lot of the uniques are just, a lot of the gear is just uniques, right? So the majority of your energy shield is really coming from Avatar, which is like 1C unique, Ubis Circlate, and the glove. So shouldn't be too hard, and you can find, you know, budget versions like Step and Erd as the boots. They give you good movement speed, good dexterity, which you're gonna need, and good ES, and it's gonna take you far away into the game, right? So I don't really recommend this as a league starter unless you really know what you're doing. But let's say once you get this, let's say you already have all the gear. At this point, you want to respec out of the life nodes. Some of them, not all. You notice I still have all these life nodes. We'll talk about that right now. Right, you basically only respec out of this one if you notice. This is the only respec you got. And you start going for all these ES nodes. We're going to be using Pledge Advance at this point. So you're going for the spell crit nodes. There's a spell crit. Reduce preservation is really, really good to fit all your auras in, especially Spooter. Arcane Surge, maximum mana, all the shebang, all res, and things like that. Very, very handy. Now, if you come here, we had all this early on, but we put a healthy mind here. It's a very cheap jewel. And what it does is makes increases of reductions to life applied to mana at double the value. So Crew Preparation gives you 10% of maximum life normally, but if you go into the game, because QB doesn't do it for you, now it gives you 20% increased maximum mana. This now gives you 10% maximum mana. These nodes right here, which give you basically 8% life and 12% maximum mana, now give you 16% mana on top of the 12. If you go here, it's 28% increased maximum mana. So now these life nodes, you never have to take them out and just put a jewel. You don't have to respec, and now they become incredibly efficient, and they're absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. Right, let's move it on. From here, these life nodes, well, now they're all converted to ES using energy from within, so very efficient. Pain Attunement is really good because once you have your Ivory Tower, you're considered low life, free damage. Cast speed is very important because now that we have 4 casts per the, you know, per Pledge of Hands, you don't want to be locked in animation, so cast speed is very important. So I did pick up cast speed here, and I do pick up cast speed at Igniting Reach. It gives a little bit of AOE, which is nice. I highly recommend you kind of prioritize this a bit over, like, you know, spell crit, because it's just going to feel better and smoother for gameplay, and it's less annoying because not a lot of monsters run faster than you. You get what I'm saying. You guys probably know already, right? So, and then we have Whispers of Doom to apply additional curse. We have a curse on hit ring on top of, I believe, an Arcanist brand here that's linked with Assassin's Mark for extra crit, which is very handy because it gives you base crit, right? Which is crit's kind of hard to get these days. But on top of that, we do have curse on hit from a ring. The easy way to get this is just get an eye level 75 ring that's influenced. Doesn't have to be a Cerulean ring with maximum mana because those are more expensive. But you can just get a regular ring like a 2-stone. You can have a little bit less mana, but you deal with it as a budget version. Get a conductivity on it. Get Crusader influence on the one that you see on the screen. And what you want to do is just go to Harvest and just reforge with caster modifiers are more common. Eventually, you're going to hit it, and you're good to go. And as long as it has a little bit of energy, a little bit of res, put mana on it, and you're good to go, you know? Nothing crazy. But if you don't have that, then just don't pick up these nodes and pick them up later. It's not really that big of a deal, honestly. Right? So that's pretty much that at mid-game. Once you hit level 91, all that really happens, you start going for the endgame jewels. You pick up Divine Judgment for penetration, even more damage. Transcendent Flesh is absolutely amazing here if you can afford it. If not, just don't pick it up or use a normal jewel. And here, it makes all these strength nodes and give you a crap ton of crit multi. So if you see here, this thing gives you 56 crit multi, which is absolutely bonkers amount of damage. It takes away basically, we see here, it's like almost 100k. It's like 80 to 90k average hit, which is absolutely insane. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys pick that up. You know, on top of that, I believe pretty much it. I think that's really the only difference between the other tree and that one. Let me go back real quick just so you guys can see the difference. Oh, and we also pick up Prodigal Perfection up here. Nothing crazy. It just gives you a lot of spell damage because it's based off your mana. So it's actually a very, very efficient node. Really, really good. And the rest of it is just basically picking up more energy shield. Now, I added a level 93 tree because it's more efficient. What ends up happening is instead of going to this one or this one, you just pick up the entire wheel. It's much more efficient at level 93. You get a lot more mana. Very, very good. Highly recommend. But I'm level 91, so this is what you guys see. That's basically the gist of it. The only thing here is we do have a Watcher's Eye. And this Watcher's Eye, since we can't use Wrath anymore, I just recommend that you get 10% of maximum mana as extra energy shield while affected by clarity. As you can see here in my tree, I have 9,000 energy shield, and you take this off, right? And now I have 7,800. So I literally added like 1,300, almost 400 energy shield. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you can afford it, highly recommend to buy it. It's good for defense. And I have to use a level 1 clarity. But these days, I recommend using a level 21 clarity if you can buy it. you need all the flat mana regen you can get, because now that Arcane Surge gives you percentage mana, flat mana is going to scale off of that, so really get as much flat mana as possible, right? So clarity becomes very clutch in that regard. Now we covered that. Pantheons, Solar Ranking, simple as that, and Soshikari. Poison's a BATCH this league, highly recommend it, but we do have a lot of mana regen to cover it, so you probably don't even feel it that much, honestly, but I highly recommend getting these two, and please upgrade them. They go a very long way. Bandit, pick up Alira because it gives you multi-res and flat mana regen. We want that juicy mana regen, right? Now, I want to go before the gear. I want to talk about Flask real quick. These little nodes here, the instilling orbs, they're very, very useful. They're the yellow ones. The other ones, if you don't like piano flasking, then use the instilling orbs. I'm talking about the other one, the yellow ones. I forget what they're called. These things, if you put it on a diamond flask that has crit chance crafted on it, you can go to TFT, the Discord, and ask somebody to craft it for you if you don't have it. It actually increases it. So you can see here, my FROSTBOMB has 31% crit. Looks like a little bit, right? But we do have a Frost Shield that gives you all the way to 40%. Pretty good. That's not including Assassin's Mark and my Flask, keep that in mind. So 40% base is actually very, very solid. So let's say 31%, right? We're going to use this Diamond Flask with just crit chance on it, right? And global crit. No increased effects. This thing gives me 40% crit, 40.86. But this one has basically the same crit, 56%, but with increased effects. You're going to notice that I get increased effects from not only the Flask itself, but also the increased crit chance during Flask effect. So my crit chance goes all the way up to 44%, additional 5% crit, which is very, very, very good. So I highly recommend you guys do is to kind of like make Diamond Flask even better than it was before, honestly. I think it's better. And since we don't really need it for clear, I don't care that it doesn't get charges during Flask effect, because when I use it is when I want to go ham. And that's basically during a boss fight where I can hit them, like Shaper's doing his beam phase or something, where they're vulnerable, right? And then during the ad phase, just don't pop it, let it regenerate on its own. Now, the same thing does apply to Bottle of Faith. Now, you could put extra charges on it, right? If you do want to use it multiple times, that way it's less bursty. That might be a better option, honestly, the increased effect. You can choose whatever you want. But if you do increase effect, the 149% crit goes even higher. We're talking like do half of that at 75. So this is giving you over 200% crit. I highly recommend it on top of the increased effect of the 10% increased damage. Very good. You can do increased duration. I highly recommend though, if you do anything, just do increased effect and increased charges. And honestly, the flasks are as good as they were before. Other than that, I don't think any other flask is really that big of a deal. So I highly recommend if you can afford a Bottle of Faith, buy it. If not, I highly recommend you just use a Wise Oak. Simple as that. No. There's nothing really else you can really use. To be frank with you guys, if you want, use the Cinder Swallow, put like increased charge recovery on that or something, right? And you can roll with that if you want for recovery. But moving on to the gear, Touch of Vance, obviously mandatory. The gems are kind of mandatory. You want Phantasmal FROSTBOMB. You can use Spell Cascade until you can afford an Awakening Spell Cascade. You have Restoration, Spell Echo, Second Wind, and then Archmage. Now, if you're on a 5-link, this skill kind of really wants a 6-link. It feels nowhere near as good, but it does make it that more impactful once you get that 6-link. You mess around with either Spell Cascade or Spell Echo. If it was up to me, I would keep Spell Echo because your cast speed is going to be abysmal, as you can see here. Look how slow that is. And you can't move. You literally can't move when you're casting. So if I were you, take out this and just have a big ass FROSTBOMB, and you'll be fine with that. Honestly, that's a very big FROSTBOMB. You should be doing plenty of damage, honestly, for early maps and things like that on 5-link. Technically a 6-link, but you get my point, right? Ivory Tower, super cheap, unique. Try to get just buy one. Just get Vault Purity of Ice. This is really good because FROSTBOMB does have an insane amount of flat damage. Because of flat cold damage, I mean. So the flat lightning is from Arcane Cloak and Arcane Surge. You can see here, it's absolutely ridiculous. But the flat cold damage doesn't sneeze that. So the way we get penetration for that is Vault and Purity of Ice instead of All Righteous Fire, because this shit sucks now. And Vault and Purity of Ice basically makes you ignore cold rest, which is really good for damage. You have Second Wind, increased duration, Arcane Cloak, Arcane Surge. We already spoke about it. It basically makes it last longer. And then on the little 6 socket here, we have Clarity. Try to get level 20 or 21 Clarity. I don't care that it reduces your mana reservation. The damage loss is solely worth the mana regen. It's absolutely insane. Right. For your helmet, you basically want a Hubris Circlet with FROSTBOMB cooldown recovery. It comes a long way now that, especially as Second Wind got nerfed, it doesn't have cooldown recovery anymore. So if you can buy one, they're not too expensive, honestly, probably like 40 to 50, maybe 60 C. You don't need the Crusader base, honestly. All you want to do is get a Hubris Circlet with FROSTBOMB cooldown recovery as high as an eye level as you can, ideally eye level 84 or 85, and just reforge defense on Harvest, or just use Dense Fossils and you'll get there eventually, right? And don't care about the -9 lightning res, because honestly, this is a range spell, and I say like 80-90% of the time, especially these days, I'm never near the boss anyway. So take it as it is. You don't need it. It's just, I just made it by luck using you know, a slam on an Exalted Orb. It worked. But here's a good opportunity, you know, remove the increased effect of shock, remove the nearby enemy res, and get some chaos res if you can fit it in there, because God Lord, you're gonna need it, right? Here you want to put Sigil of Power, Flame Dash, Second Wind, Frost Shield. Frost Shield makes you literally super tanky because the damage goes to the shield. And Sigil of Power, if you read it, it says maximum 4 stages, enemies in area deal 19% less, not reduced, less damage while at maximum stages. You become very, very tanky, you know, with these two things on. And I was tanking Shaper Balls. I was like, what the f? Pretty good. Without it, you feel pretty squishy, but with it, it's pretty good, man. Highly recommend and things like that. On your glove, we basically have a Discipline with Vault Discipline, very good. Arrogance level, I think level 20 is fine, so you can fit in your mana, and Enlightened level 3. And you want to make sure you put this on the item that has Spooter on it, so the Arrogance affects the Spooter. But keep in mind, Enlightened only affects active skill gems, so it does not affect the Spooter. But either way, you want the Arrogance on the item with Spooter, otherwise it will not go through your life. Right? That's all you need. This used to be Wrath. It doesn't fit anymore, so do what you want with it. Portal, I don't care. Just figure something out. You already have a guard skill on walk, so try to maybe Portal is your best bet. Skyforce, Assassin's Mark, faster casting, Arcanist Brand, Wave of Conviction. You basically place it before the boss, it's 6 of them, and it makes them get 15% less reservation. Less res, right? And increases them with Assassin's Mark, and that's really good. Faster casting, just so it procs it quicker and you can cast it quicker. And that's pretty much it in terms of that. Your gloves, obviously, just get resistances, Spooter, whatever ES you can get. 120 higher is good. Again, it was made of Harvest, you don't need this much ES. And Craftsman Dexterity, you're gonna need it. Skyforce is absolutely amazing. Highly recommend. Please do not skimp out on this. Very, very good. Belt, Strength, Res, Mana, crafted if you can, and ES. Rings, you basically want Cerulean rings with as much energy shield, resistances, and mana as possible. Same thing for both of them. Get some Chaos Res that you can fit it in, especially if you find some more res on your helmet. Amulet, Azrael's Foible, cannot beat it. Highly recommend you put some Life and Mana Catalyst on it. Perfecto. You know, absolutely amazing. And for your Anointment, you know, socket and counterweight. That way ends up spec into this, and it gives you a crap ton of crit chance and crit multi. Really, really, really good. And I think it's cheap, right? Yeah, it's only a silver. It's very, very good. And that pretty much covers the gear. Flask, Quicksilver, get some, get Surgeons if you can. It's not that big of a deal. You can do additional charges, probably is best with Immunity to Chill. Diamond Flask, please get it as much as you can with additional charges and crit chance and get increased effect on it. Very, very good. Bottle Faith, use whatever orb you want to increase effect or charges. Silver Flask, I highly recommend remove curses. And then here, this is Legacy. You can't actually get 23% reduced charges anymore, but you can get like 25 additional charges, and it's the same thing. You can use it twice. Just make sure that your Silver Flask is able to be used twice. That's all I ask for you. And then your Mana Pot. Here we want Immunity to Bleed. Now, I don't know what the best mod is on top. Enduring sucks for pure mana regen, so your best bet might be like reduce recovery rate but increase mana, but then it kind of feels bad. Figure out, I think at the end of the day, it might be best for you to go 50% increased recovery rate as the top mod. So fit that in with Bleed, and you should feel it pretty well that way. It feels like you're regenerating mana pretty quickly because you can use this flask 6 times. Pretty good. Right? And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of that chat. As for rare, most of the jewels are basically unique, right? Every single jewel is unique. If you have to use a rare jewel, basically spell crit multi or crit multi with elemental skills and maximum mana, maximum energy shield, area damage, spell damage, things like that, right? And that's the gist of it. So let's go.
Have time to gather my will.
Thank you. Let's go into a quick map showcase and end it there. See you guys there. Alright guys, let's go into the map showcase. Here we have a tier 16 Jungle Valley. It's kind of rippy in terms of monster speed because Turbo is honestly really bad. And less recovery rate of life and energy shield. Now this is going to affect your life recovery rate from Leech. So might be a little rippy. We'll see what happens. We'll just leave it in. We have Legion, Breach, Shaper, and Metamorph Scarab. And as for our, look at level 9, we have here a bunch of Legion shit. We have fire damage, some packs of monsters, pack size, and mirrored rare monsters. And let's just add, we can add ambush. And I want to just do anarchy because rogue exiles are annoying as shit. And just run it and see what ends up happening. Now, keep in mind, chaos damage is your biggest enemy now. So the chaos res goes a long way, which I don't have, as you can see here shortly. Chaos res minus 16. Thank you, Shaper. So, chaos damage is your biggest enemy, especially poison these days. So I highly recommend you figure something out. We have temp chains now, apparently. Oh, touche then. This is totally gonna suck. I was not intending for this to also happen, but you can see that G-Gen and our leech is not as high as we want to. So here we gotta play really careful. I did not intend for this map to be a lot more difficult than it really is. Oh, we'll get through it, chat. We'll get through it. God, this is mug ass now. Holy shit. But your goal is to stay far away as possible. Let your FROSTBOMB do the work. Luckily, temp changes isn't as bad as it was before, So take it slow. Stressful mapping is what it is.
Just in time.
Use your bubble effectively. If you need to. Let's run this breach real quick. Ooh, mamma mia. I'm not gonna pretend like this build's popping the fuck off right now, chat, because we all know how 3.15 is right now. I'm gonna use that as an excuse. Damn right I am. This is pretty difficult. But it's pretty juiced up. Nothing crazy. It's not like just fucking, 4-tier deliriums and stuff. But not bad for the sake of the investment and the type of build that it is, right? Oh. So stay away as much as possible. If you ever, flame dash too close, we have this off here as well. I don't know why we have such a thing here. But we can blow them up very easily. Oh my god, I dropped in one. Oh, we got a bleed. Pop the mana pot. We're good. Alright, we can do an alva just for funsies, just to see what it looks like. Sure.
Let's go.
We don't have a single mana. Well, we don't have any more pots, but fuck it, we'll deal with it. Use your bubble. Did not get blown up instantaneously. Them strats, bro, they pay off because chaos resistance is a bit of a bitch in this area. I can probably go a little bit more sporadic if my life recovery was, where it's supposed to be, but it is what it is. Moving slow and steady because this map is rippy as all hell. If you didn't have less recovery, which I probably wouldn't run normally, I would you can go at your probably a little bit faster pace, probably a lot faster pace. But for now, it is what it is. We just do one alva. I don't want the map to last 10 freaking minutes. Move it up.
My mana is spent.
Legion, I'm a bit scared of. Oh, there's a death. Just let her ride. Just let her ride. Let her ride. As you can see, my mana went all the way down. So there's a good chance I probably died at chaos damage. So mana is definitely a priority, and you want to really focus on making sure that your mana is high as possible. I'm really hoping they bring back the Arcane Surge to the way it was before, honestly. But it is what it is. Let's see how we can just deal with it. Right, moving on.
I must have time to gather my will.
Now let's pop this Legion. What the hell was that rogue exile, dude? Oh my god. I love this became like the most stressful freaking map ever. Coming to my sound.
Just in time.
Mana pot. I believe in you. Jesus. And sometimes, chat, you forget how a juice map actually feels like and how crazy it is nowadays. But yeah, I would actually recommend this build for hardcore before the Arcane Surge nerfs. Right now, not so much. Okay, I think I am mentally prepared for this Legion just for the showcase. Let us check it out. Whatever happens is whatever happens. Pop your Vault Discipline, whatever you gotta do. As you can see, it clears legions like a goddamn beast. So you can just go right into the yellows and just blow everything up. Now here, I recommend get the fuck away. And nuke from afar. Use your range and your off clear to your advantage. because FGGG and his bullshit. All right, we chilling, boys. We chilling. We chilling. Check over here. I think the majority of the raids are dead. Except for that one right there. Oh, yeah, yes. Of course. Proximity shield. I'm dead. If that kick also you like that, activate, you know, your defensive setup, which is your frost shield and your sigil power. Just let it ride, chat. Let it ride. Honestly, though, we do have Vault Discipline, which I should have popped earlier. If you do see your ES go down very quickly, you can use Vault Discipline as a source of, kind of like a little pool. Oh, just a little chaos damage there. I'm assuming it's a bit of an exile run around, causing havoc. I see my ES going down, pop Vault Discipline, and let it go back up naturally. He died just from the AOE, and this part should be the easiest part of the fucking map. But we did die once, honestly, not that bad. We do have monster damage, movement speed, rogue exiles, temp chains, a bunch of other bullcrap, less recovery rate, 75% less recovery rate, so that's pretty goddamn slow. And yeah. You can see the damage is pretty crazy, and I forget she has chaos damage. You live and you learn, chat. You live and you learn. If I was focused, she would be dead without me dying, but I'm gonna leave it in the video because this is the state of fact of exile right now. But yeah, I'll just cut to the bottom back. This will be defensive. I'm gonna park everything, and then that poison me to death. Should be dead in one hit. There you go. Probably would have been a lot better if I had more ES recovery. And we do have a metamorph here. Let's just do it, just for the sake of it. Catalyst as usual. Currency. It's killing me. Rare jewelry, unique item. There's nothing else here, and whatever. Pop this, pop that, pop your little thing, and go ahead. You should die pretty fucking easily. And there you go. As you can see, your AOE is your biggest friend in this build, and it's how we make it up. And really, the biggest nerf wasn't even damage. It was actually defense in terms of mana regen. Ironically enough, huh? Yeah. But pretty much the showcase. Let's go back into the outro, and I'll see you guys there. And yeah, very quickly, because I did not cover it, you know, on the passive skill tree. The order is kind of a little bit iffy, but you probably want to prioritize Limited Devotion until, you know, you can fit in, until you have all your gear, because elements are going to hurt you early on, and you do really need your Patheon, but it's going to make it so you don't get frozen, and, you know, Ignite and all that stuff doesn't do that much damage to you. It'll be really good, right? Divine Guidance, probably one of the first ones you pick up. So Divine Guidance, and then Arcane Blessing, then Limited Devotion, because elements don't really do damage until later on the game, and then get Sanctuary of Thought. Until you have this on, you probably won't be able to fit in Spooter, but you're probably not going to get Spooter till later on. So I highly recommend this last one and just skip Spooter till later. That's pretty much it. And with that, guys, go full cam. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And the build's actually my favorite build to date. I'm a little bit sad to see that it's not as completely overpowered as it was before, because it was disgusting. But it is, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully we get some buffs in the future with things like that. Honestly, I'd be happy with the build that is the way it is now, as long as they give me my regen back. I think mana regen and mana things are just a little bit too annoying these days. But the quickest problem to solve that would probably be just investing into a little bit more chaos res. And I don't think there's any more mana regen you can possibly get in the build. I got almost everything in the build on top of, you know, I only have a level 17 clarity, but you can go up to level 20, 21. It's not gonna make that big of a difference. So do what you can. You know, I say, but I kind of wish they buffed mana regen again. I kind of miss the old Arcane Surge. It was really good. You know, maybe it should have left it as percentage of mana, but at a lower value. You know, it is what it is. But thanks so much for guys for thank you guys so much for watching. Excuse me. And I hope you guys, you know, learned something. Maybe you guys enjoy the build, because it is disgusting for the majority of content. You don't really have to juice it up as much as I did here, but it goes to show the power of the build. Just be wary of chaos damage. And at the end of it all, you know, I'll keep bringing to you guys informative content and interesting new builds as per usual. And I'll catch you guys later.